What is up, Scrub fam? I am here with another video. I know, shortly removed from yesterday's video, but today a conversation was started on the Hyperbolic group, and it was basically about saying that revival needs to happen to the game, or something to that effect. And basically, it was going over how taking issue with the format that currently exists, and I wanted to go ahead and just make a video to kind of help everyone through this time period and just help everyone to kind of just maybe change their perspective a bit when they're looking at the way the game is, because I think a lot of people just kind of get trapped with these lines of thinking that just leads to them having a negative experience, both just when they play the game, but additionally when they're trying to talk to others. That creates a negative experience for the other people that are actually getting into the game, and just gives a bad perception of the way the game actually is. So before I get started, let me give a shout out to my sponsor, Beard Collectibles. Alec Pastrana is the best shop owner on the planet. If you haven't picked up your World Martial Arts Tournament product yet, order from Alec Pastrana and Beard Collectibles. He has great shipping times, usually gets it there on and around release date, so go through beardcollectibles.com if you're looking to get your World Martial Arts Tournament stuff. So anyway, let's go into the video. So the first thing is the way people view the actual game itself. So number one, people have this perception that because there's a lot of leaders that exist, there's a lot of cards that exist in the game, that all of them need to be somewhat viable or playable, and that if you have just a certain number or a small number of them be highly playable within a given format at a given time, that it's a bad game. And I need to cut that off right now, because no. In fact, if you actually have a metagame that revolves around multiple decks existing at a singular time, and they all have checks to one another, and it creates a format in which there's ebb and flow, and there's back and forth, and there's changes from week to week, that is actually exactly what you want. And so people had an issue with this past format because they saw a lot of the same decks performing really well, but everyone's looking at it, the overall picture. Everyone's looking at just like the generalities of like SS3 is too good, right? Or Herudegarn's too good. But what they weren't actually looking at was they weren't actually looking at how the format changed on a week-to-week basis. And they weren't looking at it with such granular detail. And that's one of the main things that I try to accomplish in the articles I write, the videos I post, is everything I want to be as detailed as possible, because I think that helps change people's perspectives. It helps get them in the mindset of, wow, like this game has a ton of action from week to week, and it changes from week to week. I mean, if you just look at the different decks that I tell people to play on a week-to-week basis, they always change. If you look at the deck list, they always change. If you look at the cards that became more important, they always changed. And so when you start looking at those details, you realize, wow, okay, so not only is there an established format, an established meta, which is really healthy for a game, but there's also cards that become more important, there's more counterplay, and there's more opportunities for me to be successful within a given game based off of everything that exists in my knowledge of the format. But that also leads into the next issue, which a lot of people don't test a format enough. So they have this perception that they've been given by someone else because someone else told them, play this deck, it's the best deck, or only people that are the only decks that are being played right now are the X leader with X deck, so you should only play these things. And since you didn't have the full exposure to testing the format, since you didn't have all the information, all the knowledge given to you or obtained, you end up with this false reality of, wow, this game is really narrow and I really can't do much. Where it's like, no, that's just not the case. So for instance, let's just take something like Blue-Yellow Herudegarn and Blue-Yellow SS3. Both those decks are really good, right? And they were really strong and borderline oppressive because of they were combo decks. And having a combo deck in a game this young is sometimes a difficult task to work with. But we as a community and all the competitive players worked to find solutions to that problem, which the problem was, we have to be able to combat these decks that take 100 actions per turn, so what do we do? So then that's how you had Mono Blue and Blue Green SS3 win multiple events, right? And so everyone complains about SS3 being a problem. Well, SS3 actually was the saving grace of this previous format, because if SS3 didn't exist in this previous format, then you would have only had Herudegarn aggro combo decks running around, because no other deck in the game could be able to withstand for that amount of potential actions to take place within a given turn and be able to defend itself with energy and also play the game offensively at the same time. So SS3 is the saving grace of that format. And when people are going to start learning as we move into the World Martial Arts Tournament, is the fact that SS3 is good and SS3 is still the king of energy management, but SS3 can't generate enough tempo or as much tempo as other leaders can, or other archetypes can. Like, yeah, it can generate tempo defensively, which is what the leader is really good at, because it's able to basically play something on their turn, use their energy, and then use 3 on the opponent's turn. So it's great in maintaining defensive tempo. But Offensively, if you look at any SS3 deck and you look at the archetypes that SS3 is kind of locked into right now, aside from playing veggies, but if you play veggies, you have really harsh energy restrictions because you have to be able to play double green off the flip to be able to play your Kaba, but you're also playing red cards and you're playing black cards, so you're not going to hit it, and blue cards. So all the SS3 decks play one threat per turn, right? And so what you're going to find in this format is one threat per turn is often not going to be enough for you. Main reason why is because stuff like Test of Strength Goku, Test of Strength Oob, being an untapped 2-liter, being able to play multiple threats on a single turn. You have stuff like Awkward Situation Trunks and Otosuki like coming into play at the same time and being able to provide board pressure. And so it's like you're able to go really wide against your opponent really fast. And think about Blue Yellow Hurrigarn can do the same thing because of the fact that it can do Bardock, Goten, all those things and still compress the game, but at the same time advance its board state and create multiple threats per turn. And SS3 as a leader, like if we just talk about the drawbacks of that leader, number 1, you have to discard a card to start the game. Number 2, you have to crit 2 life. And then number 3, you have to awaken for your deck to actually be successful. If you take all that into account and then realize that the game is getting to a point where wide board states are becoming more and more impactful and more important, then you're going to notice that SS3 is going to have a really hard time because he's really good at defending a few attacks, maybe 2 attacks per turn, 3 attacks per turn. But once you start getting to 3, 4, 5 plus attacks per turn, and it's from multiple battle cards on the table at the same exact time, you're going to find that SS3 is going to have an issue with that. SS3 is going to have a problem with maintaining card advantage. And so that's what you need to take into your mindset right now is you don't have all the information available to you. Unless you've been testing this format already, you don't have all the information, you don't have all the pieces. And so to assume that SS3 is just going to be the best out the gate, you're making an assumption that is not necessarily correct. I think it'll be really good. It's still really strong, and I think that it's like the Jundish deck of the format, just because it's 50-50 against everything for the most part, but it does have some pretty bad matchups out there. People are going to lean towards that deck because of the fact that it provides that 50-50 stance and because it's safe. And so when you have a lot of people playing it, as we go forward next week and moving forward into this new format, you can't just look at the raw numbers of how many that place well and go, well, SS3 is a problem. You have to look at the fact that, again, a lot of people are going to choose to still play that leader because of the fact that it is so safe. That doesn't mean that it's the best deck, because I don't think it is the best deck, but it is really good. And so I don't want any of this to take away from the fact that I do think that SS3 leader eventually should be banned. And the main reason why isn't because of its degenerate or not because it's, oppressive or anything like that. But number 1, I think it does create repeatable competitive experiences, both at the hyper-competitive and the casual level. I think it does restrict the amount of leaders that see play today, because when these new cards get printed with a certain leader, that leader is basically invalidated by the fact that a leader exists that can do things a turn sooner. And then additionally, the main reason why I'd want to get rid of it is because it scales too well with future design. I think it just, when you keep creating cards that cost more and more, 3, 4, 5, 6 energy, and you have a leader that just always gets to them faster, you're going to have an issue. Unless Bandai continues the course of what they're doing, where they're designing sets and they're designing cards that only work with a specific leader, a specific archetype, and so that narrows the things that SS3 can play, and eventually you're going to get to a point where you're missing out on a lot of things, and so you can't actually play that leader anymore because you're going to be behind the curve. So that even happens starting this set. The interaction of Test of Strength, Goku, and Oob is enough to just make you only want to play World Martial Arts Tournament leaders when you start testing. And so SS3 is really good, but SS3 misses out on a lot of stuff because of the fact that he is who he is. And he's locked into playing specific strategies, specific archetypes as we move forward. So I challenge you to change your perspective on the way you look at the game. Don't look at the game on a overarching theme, or just generality perspective. Really dive into the details of the format itself. Really dive in and learn these things and play test and learn these matchups and learn how things feel and learn the importance of tempo. Learn the importance of using all your energy effectively on your turn and your opponent's turn with a leader that isn't SS3. Challenge yourself to do that. Challenge yourself to test these new archetypes that allow you to play multiple threats on a given turn and just try and capture, in that moment how it feels to do that. Not necessarily the result of what happens, but how it feels when you're doing it. Think about how to generate card advantage. Don't think about how to, do the same thing that SS3 does, because you can't. SS3, like I said, he's the king of energy management. But your deck shouldn't be focused on being the king of energy management if you're not that. You should be focused on overwhelming with card advantage and overwhelming with a board state, making sure that your tempo is on point when you're playing the game, and making sure you don't fall behind the curve. And then just watch out for these things that I'm talking about. Watch out for the fact that SS3 can only play one threat per turn. And then you'll quickly realize how you can take advantage of playing against that leader more often than not, based off of what you can present on the table and how many threats that you can present at the table. Because once SS3 is awakened, having only 4 life and having just a certain number of resources that you can use to defend yourself against your opponent across the course of the game, take that into account when you're doing your testing, and you'll start to see some results. You'll start to see changes. You'll start to see ways that you can get an edge in those matchups, as opposed to just throwing in the towel and just giving up and saying that SS3 is the best thing out there. Again, I still think that SS3 is very good and has a really strong place in the format. And if he didn't, that'd be an issue, because a leader that good should always have a place in the format. But we as players need to, as I said in my last video, remove the helmet, and you got to put on your thinking cap. Because as of right now, I think everyone's just getting to the point where they're really lazy and they're bored because they don't have new cards, and they haven't started testing to actually see if the new cards that are coming out are actually worth it. So they just have this false perception that's printed for them, that's basically made for them. And then they continue to take that with them as they move forward, and that causes them to kind of get in the way as their own growth as players, which is never good. So again, I challenge you, look at this game as more than just the overarching themes or just the generalities. Look at this game for the details. Look at the details in the gameplay, the deck selection, the card selection. Look at the reason why things happen. Look, just go back and just look at the way the format transpired over the past 4 to 6 weeks, right? Look at Gen Con, where you had Blue Red Hirudegarn win both days back to back, right? So take that event and then move to the next set of events where Blue Yellow Hirudegarn wins, and then look at the next set of events where Blue Yellow SS3 wins, and then so on and so forth. You had Blue Yellow SS3, you had Blue Green SS3, you had Red Blue Hirudegarn win. Again, the format changed from week to week, and decks had to shift from week to week. If you look at people that if you look at my YouTube video that I recently posted before the event in Ohio, take a look at the deck lists. All the deck lists were different from what they were the week prior, and the reason why is because you had to adjust for the format. And so when you start taking the game and you're looking at it on this week-by-week basis, and you're trying to digest it, analyze it, and figure out what cards are needed for you to be able to survive in the new world, you're going to be much better off, as opposed to just sticking with, this is my 65, and this has always been my 65, and this will be my 65. Instead of looking at that, you need to just take all the information that you get presented to you, work hard, right? That's a big one. Work hard, spend time, do research, and start to craft your decks and tune your decks. I promise you that if you really focus on these details, you're going to have so much more fun with the game than you did before, and you're going to see so much better results. You're going to be able to know the format inside and out, and that's going to give you such leverage when you're playing the game. It's going to be able to show you when you need to do certain things, like combo a certain amount of cards, or hold back on your turn, or leave energy up for your opponent, so you can defend your life total, or when to go all in. You're going to learn all these things, and you're going to learn what cards in each matchup become the most important cards, and you're just going to learn week to week how to address the format. People that are complaining about the format at what it was are people that kept losing to it because they never adjusted. And even when they tried to adjust, they didn't take all the information available to them and make those changes, make those decisions. So if you're not enjoying the game right now, this is a big one. This is going to be one that people are going to be upset about when I say this. If you're not enjoying the game right now, it's your fault. You did this to yourself because you didn't do the due diligence, you didn't put in the time, and you didn't look at things for what they were. You looked at things as you wanted to perceive them based off of information that you got from somewhere that wasn't the actual truth. When you're playing this game, strive to find the truth. That's one thing that I always say whenever I have conversations about deck building. You have to try and find the truth. Whenever you're trying to get ready for a competitive tournament, you have to find the truth. The thing that is it is the solution. It is the thing. It is what you have to do. And if you don't do that, if you don't try and get into these gritty details, you're not going to have fun playing the game, because you're just going to be a person that falls victim to the groupthink of, oh, this game is broken, this game is bad, when the game is not bad at all. I think the game is fantastic. It's in a great spot, and the designers are hitting their stride with each set, And World Martial Arts Tournament, again, is a huge improvement over their design philosophies and the way they design the game. And in this set, they introduced two Tier 1 to Tier 2 1.5 decks. Like, they introduced 2 decks, brand new, into a format that was already, like, had a bunch of decks. And so 2 more just got introduced with a release of 1 set. That's absurd. Like, calm down. Don't sound the fire alarm. Enjoy the game. Put the work in. Get the details. Find the truth. And you're really going to enjoy this game. And in general, I'll continue to put out content on a weekly basis, multiple times per week, giving you the information that you're looking for, and giving you the insight, the data, so you guys can take it and make informed decisions and continue to help you develop the format itself so you guys all know what you're going to be looking at from a week-to-week basis. So in general, thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry this ran longer than I wanted to. I'm currently on my lunch break. I'm about to go back to work here in a few minutes, but I wanted to stop and just do this video. Regardless of the reaction, I just feel like I just had some things I wanted to say. I wanted to get them out there. But anyway, thank you guys again so much for everything. Scrub fam is best fam. Bye!